时间来到了早上的9:01，那大家也就已经看到了，坐在小雪身边的呢，就是我们的财长 Grant Robertson。随着选举的日益临近，工党其实提出了一系列有关税收的新提案，旨在呢是为新西兰的中低收入家庭带来更多的实惠。其中呢，大家最关心的部分，比如说包括我们取消果蔬 GST， 包括提高工薪家庭的退税额度，以及此前一直提到的10项的一揽子的计划。那关于这些内容呢，我们今天都有请 Grant Robertson 来跟我们来讨论一下华人朋友最关心的问题。Good morning, Mr. Robertson. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, Sherry. Thank you.
We are so happy to have you here in the studio today. So before we kick things off, would you like to say hello to our audience?
Oh, yes, I would. Good morning. It's wonderful to be here. It is my first time in this studio, and really nice to be able to talk about the election and about what's coming up. So thank you for the opportunity, Shisha.
Yes, so obviously today's interview is regarding the 2023 Labour Party's tax policies and 10-point cost of living package. So can you explain to myself and the viewers what your 10-point cost of living package? Can you give us the specific?
Yeah. Absolutely, I can. So the beginning of it is what we have been doing up to now. So that means that we have a lot of people in work. So we have unemployment very low, lowest it's ever been in New Zealand at around 3.4%. We've also seen our wages rising. So wages have risen faster than inflation this last year and over the 6 years that we have been in government. So first 2 points are that people are in work and that people are earning more money as well.
Yeah, you're first.
Yeah. And then on top of that, we have the policy that we announced recently, which is to remove the GST from fresh and frozen fruit and vegetables to make them just a little bit more affordable for people. Then also we have announced the policies we have around making early childhood education for 2-year-olds to be free for 20 hours for the parents, so that will reduce their costs as well. Also the half price public transport for young people and for those who are on lower incomes. And we have lifted the family support that we do through Working for Families. And we have 3 more, and they will be announced over the next few weeks, and that will be the 10-point plan.
Okay, you mean it will announce the few later weeks. This is why people can't see the
whole 10, that's right. So they will be added to over and within the next few weeks. So by the time that people come to vote, which they can do from the beginning of October, they will know all the 10 points.
Okay, that's why. So let's break it down. We talking about the fruit and vegetable GST removal. Last year, you did not agree, but what has made you change?
2 things have made me change.
Yeah.
The first is that I was worried that the saving would not be passed on to the consumer.
Yeah.
But we now have a person called the Grocery Commissioner, and their job, they work with the Commerce Commission, and their job is to look at what the supermarkets are doing. And they have powers to request information and to, if they are not passing on, to be able to put in place penalties. So that concern I had, I now think, yes, actually we have a way to make sure that it gets
to solve the problem.
The second thing was that I thought that the fresh fruit and vegetables was maybe not reaching enough people. And so now we also have frozen fruit, vegetables as well. And so I think more people will benefit from that because not everybody buys fresh fruit and vegetables. So with those 2 things, I now feel better. But I also feel better because it's part of the 10-point plan. It's not the only thing. We're doing other things too.
Yeah, and this also the question I want to ask, but you said before, you said it first. I want to ask, how can the government be sure that the supermarkets will actually give the GST card to the customers?
That's right, and that's why the Grocery Commissioner, he has been appointed, he is in his job, and he will be able to monitor them and to be able to see whether they are passing that on to the consumers. It's important for the big supermarkets to remember that one of the 2 big ones, Woolworths and Countdown, they are Australian owned, and they already have to do this in Australia. So we already know they can do it. Now we're asking them to do it here in New Zealand.
Yes, you talk about Australia. So why we can't do all the food essentials can? I mean, all the food GST free, but only the free frozen fruit.
For us, we're starting with this because this is what we can afford to do, because the money that comes from GST is part of what the government uses to pay for all the things we do, the education, the health, transport. So we need to make sure we get a balance in our government accounts so we can afford this. And we also think it's a good place to start because it's healthy food and it's things that we want people to be consuming.
Yeah, and you mentioned the policy mentioned the processed food. So can you give us for example, the traffer? So is the processed food or not?
Yeah, so if something is heated up, if it has products added into it, that will not be eligible for the GST to be removed. Okay. So it has to be the vegetables itself, and obviously if they're fresh or if they are frozen. But one of the things that people were asking is it French fries? And it's not, because they are cooked in oil and turned into something else. With these policies, we know that we have to draw a line somewhere. We have to say this is in, this is out, and so that's the decision.
You have the full list.
Yes, we do, and we will also have a group that will advise the government if there are any issues or whether it's not clear.
Yeah, you just said the fruits and vegetables is really important for the people. And some people think removing GST-free food might help the rich more than the poor. Is that true?
I think, obviously more wealthy people will spend more money. And so, but as a proportion, as a percentage of what a lower income person spends, it will benefit them. So we think, especially by including frozen vegetables along with fresh fruit and vegetables, because we know particularly bigger families will often buy the frozen vegetables as well.
Yeah. So then talk about other tax policies. Without a wealth tax or capital gain tax on the cars, how is Neighbour planning to balance the cost of these new tax breaks?
Yeah, we have fully costed what we are doing, and we are making some changes. There was a policy we brought in during COVID around building depreciation that we are removing, and that will help pay for it. But it is a good question because some other political parties are promising big tax cuts, and I am not sure that they can show how they will pay for those.
Yeah, this is my question. I want to say, as your political alliances, it seems like both Green and Maori party have different views regarding to your tax policies, such as the wealth tax, and you said it before. So would all of you eventually be able to reach to mutual agreement or direction with your tax policies?
Yeah, we will be able, because in the past we have been able to have agreements with Green Party, for example. What we have said, what Chris Hipkins has said, is that we will not be doing the wealth tax, but there will be other things that we can work with the Green Party on that we could bring our agreement together. Every party will have to do this. National would be having to talk to ACT. All parties have different policies, but then once the election has happened, we can have discussions. The biggest party, which would be Labour with the Greens, tends to be the one that controls big policies like tax. So there are other things we can work on together.
Yeah, so talk about the working for family system. Can you break down the big changes you are planning with the working for family system? I mean, how will a typical New Zealand family benefit for these changes?
So for the people who get part of the working for families called in-work tax credit, it will be $25 a week extra that they will get, which will make a difference for them. It will be important for those families. They are the ones with children. There are more costs when you have children, and so that will be an extra amount of money for them. And then in a couple of years' time, we will also change the thresholds at which your working for families starts to reduce. And so by the time we finish that in 2 years' time, it'll be between $45 and $50 a week better off for those families.
Okay. So let's move on the general elections. Some question about that. The first is in labor tax policy, the minimum wage has been increased a lot, but the personal income tax brackets has not changed. Why didn't the Labour Party propose a change to their tax brackets according to the inflation?
Yeah, because as a government, our job is to balance providing all the things that New Zealanders need. So that means the schools and the hospitals and the roads and all of the different parts of what government does. And in order to do that, especially when COVID was happening, we needed to put a lot of resources into that. And so a word that you will hear me say a lot is balance. We need to get the balance right. And by offering those kinds of tax cuts, we would not have the money we need to pay for all of those other things. I understand that everyone would like the tax cut, but you have to be able to explain how you will make the government's accounts balance. And that is why we have not done that. I think the other parties have to answer the question, if you are going to give the tax cut, what are you not doing? Is it not funding education or not funding health?
Yeah, you need to choose something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, the National Party, I will say that recently announced their new tax policy, and they have emphasized that they are focusing on the middle class. So to some of us, it feels like the Labour Party has ignored the middle class New Zealanders. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think we have worked very hard to support a lot of New Zealand families. So we were talking about working for families before. Yes. That is very much the middle class people in New Zealand.
Middle class.
Yeah. And so we have given lots of support in there. And then some of the other changes we have made very much support them. So two I will mention. One is removing the prescription fees, the cost of getting your prescriptions when you go to the pharmacy. And the second is the early childhood education, so making it more affordable for 2-year-olds to go into early childhood education. So they are all things that the middle benefit from, as well as having good hospitals and good schools and so on. So I think on balance, our program has done that. But again, politicians can promise anything they like.
Can do everything.
They have to be able to show how they pay for it.
Yeah. There are reports suggesting New Zealand's economy will decline and unemployment rates will rise. So given that the public confidence in Labour's economic capabilities seems to be shaken, how does the party plan to rebuild the public confidence?
It has been a very difficult time for businesses and households with COVID and then with high inflation and high interest rates. And that's been hard everywhere in the world, not just in New Zealand. Everybody has been facing that. We actually had a report yesterday from the ANZ that said that confidence of businesses is the best it has been since 2021. So I think we've been through a tough time and we are turning the corner. And if you look at the way we manage the economy through COVID, I think people can see that we try to get a balance, that we look after people, but we also try to get our books back to balance. And I have said our debt will not go above 30% of our GDP, and we will have a surplus in the government's accounts over the 4 years that we budget for. I will stick to those rules. People will, I hope, see that, and they will see that the balance we have struck is the right one. But confidence is coming back. It's spring, the sun is coming out.
So you are optimism to the future?
Very much, because I think New Zealand is a country where we are still producing lots of things to sell to the world. We have lots of really good ideas and innovation, and so I think it's been hard and everybody understands that, but actually with the support that we can give people, I think we will get to a much more optimistic place.
Yeah, and there There seems to be a general perception that the National Party are just better at dealing with economy issues for New Zealand, while the Labour Party is just dealing with for the poor and the vulnerables. So is there anything you would like to say about that?
Yeah, I don't think that is fair. And if you look at our record on the economy, we can show that we have looked after everybody, and actually the economy has performed well. Our economy is 6% larger than it was before COVID. Unemployment is the lowest that we have ever seen in New Zealand at 3.5%. Our level of debt as a country is much lower than Australia or the United Kingdom or the United States, countries that we usually compare ourselves with. So I think on all those indicators, actually our management of the economy has been good.
Yeah, and both parties dropped the tax plans recently, but it seems like theirs get more attention. Do you think that?
Well, I'm here being interviewed by you. Unfortunately, I can't control what other people say about it. I think National, their policy that they put out, looks, when you see it, you think, oh, that looks good. But if you scratch the surface, you find that first, I don't think it adds up. I don't think they know how they're going to pay for it. And second, the things that we will lose to pay for it, like the half-price public transport and the early childhood education. So there is more attention because it has just come out, but over the next few weeks, I think both parties' policies will be looked at by people.
Yeah, you talk about that just in the morning, and the national says given that Chinese citizens, along with those from Australia, Singapore, South Korea, and Mexico, and some countries, would be included from national proposed tax on foreign house buyers in New Zealand. So how does Labour view the viability of such a tax, or as a source of revenue?
I don't think they will be able to get the money they say. So National has said from that change that they would get $700 million a year. I saw yesterday one of the organisations, Core Logic, said they thought it would only be 50 or 60. So now there is.
They say you can't find the money.
Yeah, well, but now there is a gap. Now there is nearly a $600 million gap between what they are saying they will get and what actually the people, the experts, are saying. Also, the double tax agreement between New Zealand and China means they actually can't charge this tax. So I don't think it will work for them at all. And this is what I mean. People need to scratch the surface and ask the question, can this be afforded? And I do not think National's policy can be.
Yeah, and you said that Labour has few points later.
Still to come. Yeah.
Okay. So elections are just around the corner, and the latest polls aren't looking too hot for Labour. And yet, the Labour Party seems to be still pretty calm. Why is that?
Because I've been through a lot of elections. This is a very close election, and I think as you see the next polls, you will see that it is close. And you have to remember it will be Labour and who we can work with, and National who they can work with, and those two blocks are very close. And so I think we've worked hard for 6 years. We have supported people. We have been stable. We have been responsible with what we have been doing. And when New Zealanders come to sit down and think about who to vote for, they'll make their decision not just about a poll they've heard. They will make their decision about who they think is best to look after New Zealand from here. And I think they will look at our track record, and I hope they will decide to vote for us. But my prediction remains a very close election.
Yeah, it's closely, but not too high. So every party needs the public confidence.
That's right, and you're right. It's different from 2020, where one party, Labour, was way ahead.
Yeah, you did a good job on the COVID period, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's what I want New Zealanders to reflect on, that as we move forward, we did that good job and we can keep doing it. But this is a more normal New Zealand election where the parties are a bit closer together in terms of their polling. But I'm always an optimistic person, and I think we will do well.
Okay. And we talk about the New Zealand first. First, there was the National Party. Now, even our Prime Minister has said that the Labour Party does does not intend to cooperate with New Zealand first. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and that is the statement that Chris Hipkins has made. What he has said is he has looked at the things that New Zealand First are saying and the things that they stand for, and has said that that does not align with the Labour Party's values and ideas. The things we are hearing from New Zealand First and also from ACT and National are dividing our people rather than bringing our people together. And so I think it's good that we are being clear to people that if you vote for New Zealand First, you will not be able to be supporting a Labour government. So
you are not friends.
No, not, we have worked with them in the past, but when we see what they are saying today, we think that is a recipe for dividing New Zealanders up. And actually what we need is for us all to come together.
Yeah, I noticed that you mentioned you did a really good job on the COVID period, but now it's post-COVID, and everyone wants to the economy can get better and better.
And that's when it's hard to remember what was happening before COVID. But before COVID, we were running the economy and we had the debt very low, we had unemployment very low, and we had growth. And we are seeing those things again now. So I understand we are post-COVID now. We must look to the future, but we have the record, I think, that shows we can lead that.
Yeah, the last question is about future. Should the Labour win in the upcoming election, do you see yourself serving the enter term? Do you still aspire to remain the finance minister?
I very much do. I am very focused on being the finance minister. I enjoy the job. I think it's important, and that is my plan that Chris Hipkins will be the prime minister and I will be finance.
Okay, you are really confident about that.
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for all we got for you. Anything else you want to say?
No, just I really do encourage everyone to vote in the election. It's very important that whoever you choose to vote for, that you go out and vote from the beginning of October. But thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to the next time you to the studio again.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Thanks,
you.
Ruby.
时间来到了早上的9点26分，刚刚呢就是采访了一下我们的财长 Grant Robertson。那我们呢在这里也是大概跟大家讲一下我们采访的内容。那我们不可能全部说，因为我们今天还要把早上的新闻带给大家，所以呢更多的详细内容呢，大家可以去回看我们的节目，之后也会把这个片段剪出来给大家。
是，而且关注我们的频道啊，
是的，
也就是我们的工作人员呢会把这个translate的部分呢随时都发布出来啊。
对，主要呢就是跟大家讲到，我呢是提问了他关于这一次他的税收的政策，以及关于一些选举以及跟国家党的税收政策他什么想法。我们现在线上有朋友，但是我们就暂时不接听，我们等到下一个环节再接听。首先呢，我让他说一下，我说老是听到这种10个就把10点 cost of living package 就是给到这些人群，给到我们的福利，到底哪10点呢？那刚刚其实不是总理，是我们的财长，他呢也并没有去谈到真正有10点。为什么没有真的有10点？因为他说工党会放在接下来的几周，大选将近的时候还会告诉大家，所以留下一些期待。但是已经现在去推出的部分，比如说把失业率的降低，工资的增加 ，GST， 但这个大家知道也是引起最大轰动的，也就是水果蔬菜减免 GST， 还有呢就是早教的福利扩充到2岁，这个是之前在我们的财政预算案就有的，还有就是我们说的这个交通方面，18岁以下的公共交通以及 Working for Families。所以他也没有提到完整的10点，但他说未来还会有几点去公布。
是我们来看第二个啊，接下来呢，小雪问到的就是说，为什么工党呢现在决定要取消新鲜的还有冷冻水果蔬菜的 GST， 尤其的是在之前您不看好这个想法的情况之下，因为之前他也讲到了，实际上他觉得是没有太大的一个用处嘛。
对，那个时候很多人都觉得这不是打脸了吗？那么对此呢，他是有回应的。那 Grant Robertson 他就说，之前他有concern， 但是现在有2点他就不担心了。第一个呢，他之前担心这个 GST 不会给到消费者，但是现在呢，因为有专员了，所以可以去监督这件事儿。第二呢，他之前是担心，如果这个新鲜水果呢不能照顾到，就是只是 对蔬果这些东西不能照顾到所有人，所以他当时提不行。但是呢，现在他们有10项一揽子的政策，所以他觉得全方位就还比较能到位，大概是这个意思。
是，也就是说有了这个专员之后呢，有了监督，他觉得这样的一个情况呢，还是能够往好的方面去发展的。
对，我们就不一条一条跟大家说，我挑几条尽快跟大家过一下。然后我就说为什么不能像澳洲一样嘛，就很多就基本上所有的生活必需品都是 GST free。
对。
那么财长他的意思就是说没有这么多钱，对吧？他说做不了，无法负担，太贵了，不能纳入到这个计划当中。然后我就顺便问了他一下，我说那些加工的食品你是怎么去看待这些加工的食品？比如说我举了一个例子，这个松露，那他也是有去进行解答，他就说当然有一些会比较 confused 的，但是呢他们会有一个非常完整的清单，然后上面呢可以具体的去涵盖一些大家觉得到底这一条属于加工还是没加工，用了油还是没有用油
啊。也就是说呢，实际上呢，对于我们现在看到这个政策来说的话呢，是尽量的去做到啊，也就是说能够去尽量的给大家降低生活成本的部分啊。
是我们第7个问题，我就问他说，有人说这个专家都说嘛，这个GST 减免水果蔬菜的，主要的是对富人带来的好处是高于穷人的。对，那他就表示说，有钱人他们花了更多的钱，但是如果从整个开销比例上来说呢，其实呢，低收入者是非常需要的。而且他讲到了一点，他说这种蔬菜和水果对于人来说都是很重要的，所以就必须对是健康的食品。
对，你看这里讲到的，还有小雪问到的是不打算引入财富税或者是资本利的这个增值税，那么工党打算怎么来平衡这些新的税务优惠的这样的一个成本啊？
然后呢，财长就说商业、物业折旧等一些计划来平衡。另外，他顺便说了一句，国家党的政策更花钱。当然了，这个我在后面也有提到，因为今天早上出现了一则快讯吧，就国家党不是颁发了自己税收政策之后，受到了多方面的一个关注嘛。结果他今天呢是改口说它里面的有一些钱的问题，然后呢可能要把某一些国家然后单独挑出来，可能就不包括在这个里面。这是今天早上的一则新闻。所以呢，财长的意思就是说，我说国家党的这个政策好像税收政策更受大家的关注 ，more attention。他就说，虽然看起来意识是这样，但是呢，他觉得是不能细究的，他觉得是没有办法细看的。
而且我今天也看到新闻当中就讲到，就是说有一些的数字呢，可能没有办法达到那么多，比如说呢，在线赌博的这样的一个税收的一个情况，他们觉得说呢，可能并没有像他所想象的能够这么顺利的去收回，因为有些人可能用 VPN 啊等等啊，你是无法去这种怎么样的去计算的啊。
对，但其实大家也知道，毕竟就是在其政谋其职嘛。我既然采访的是工党的财政部长，他肯定也是为自己说话的。那么他在这里头就讲到，我问他为什么我们很多朋友在打电话的时候也问过这个问题，就是说最低工资提高了。那么为什么个人所得税的税阶不提高？尤其是国家党还做了这一点，而工党似乎没有打算去动税阶。那这一点他是怎么考虑的？他说到的是工作需要平衡选民的需求，包括他此前提到的交通、教育、卫生等方面。然后呢，在疫情的时候，我们把很多资源用在了卫生领域。如果真的去对个人所得税进行减税，就没办法提供更大的服务。那么他说，既然国家党说可以减税，那么国家党就需要去回答，如果减税，其他部分的服务怎么办？与此同时呢，我们还提到了一些关于大家常说，我再说2个吧，我们就过一下这个趴，就是大家经常有这么一种观点，说国家党搞经济。工党呢就可以更多的去照顾那些就是需要福利的人等等。那他说他不认为这么说是公平的。他说过去几年已经证明，他说根据去年他说 ANZ 的一份报道，然后呢他表示公众信心也是在增加的，比疫情期间。另外呢他说工党管理经济方面也是很不错的，新西兰借贷占 GDP 的比例比起世界上其他国家，比如说澳洲，比如说全球范围来看，新西兰还是表现不错的。
对，好很多啊！你看这里还讲到，就是说呢，总理说工党呢不打算和优先党合作，您的观点是什么？他就讲到说，总理看到优先党的政策呢，认为无法和左翼的这个政党是合作啊。我们呢要跟这个选民表达的就是，如果你选择优先党，就是不选择我们。这也是他的刚刚的一个回答。
对，他就直接讲的就已经画的界限很明了。 就是你如果是支持优先党政策的，那么跟工党其实就已经
划清界限
了。与此同时，他有提到在疫情之间，因为我说到最近的民调，我说最近民调看起来工党不是那么的好，你看起来还很冷静，请问有什么后招吗？还是怎么样？然后他说，其实虽然不是很高，但是呢，跟国家党也是比较持平的一个状态，而且呢，未来他们还会给出一些新的 future 的那种政策，这是一方面。另外呢，他提到在2020年的时候，可以说是工党一家独大的一个状态。然后我们就提到了说，关于 COVID 的方面，我的确觉得在那个时期，大家都觉得工党做得不错，那个时候大家也是把工党选上来。但现在疫情已经过去了，已经是 post COVID 后疫情时代，大家想要搞经济，在这一块你的看法到底是怎么样？所以呢，他的意思就是说，其实他觉得疫情过后已经到了一个低点，然后2021呢就已经开始在稍微好转。所以呢，反正你看财长也是挺乐呵的，他说他对未来还是挺乐观的。说到乐观这一点，因为此前一直有人就说，杰森达邓时期我们的财长是副总理嘛，然后那时候就在核心团队。现在到了 Chris Hipkin 时期呢，他只是财长，不是副总理了。有人就说，哎，这个内部是不是有一些变化？那他未来会不会有想法？所以我就问他，我说如果工党能够执政的话，那你还会不会愿意做财长？你还会不会完成整个任期？他非常肯定，他说 absolutely， 就说他会做这件事情。
是，你看这里还讲到，就是有报告说到新西兰的经济下滑，失业率上升。那么鉴于公众对工党经济能力的信心似乎是动摇，那么该党有什么样的一些重获公众信任的一些计划？我们也简单说一下。他讲的就是对于企业来说，最近的确是很难，但是全世界都在经历这样的一个艰难的时刻，企业的商业信心已经回归到2021年以来的最高值了。
其实这一点我感觉他有点绕，所以我后面又问 how to build the public 这个 confidence， 就是如何让公众恢复信心。但是他的意思就是说，首先最大我们可以这样想象，工党今年最大的就是这个10项 cost living 一揽子政策，而目前他公布了其中的6到7项，剩下的1/4或者说1/3将会是他未来可能会去让大家值得期待的部分。以上呢就是今天关于采访财长的一个大概的内容，我们跟大家就分享到这里。那我们也是稍作休息，回来呢欢迎大家参与到我们有话慢慢说的环节，我们也会继续把新西兰本地的新闻带给大家。